Hey, what's good, everyone? Thanks for checking out this recording. We just had a phenomenal session. We just wrapped it up. In this training, myself, my dad, we are going to show you the most profitable patterns that you can find on any chart. And so loads of examples, as well as how these things line up with the signals that TrendForce generates for us. But guys, I'm going to get out the way, enjoy the training, and hopefully we'll see you at our live event coming up soon as well. All right, we'll see you on the inside. Let's go. Hey, good evening, everyone. So good to have you with us. And I got to say good morning as well, because I can see Lee's over there saying hi all the way from South Africa. I can see Shane over in the UK. Did I see Mark? There you go, Mark as well. What time is it over there, bro? In the Netherlands, international family all getting together. Look at you. You got like a towel around your neck. You heading to the gym or something? Anyway, guys, morning, evening, night, whenever you're watching this, maybe there's a recording later. So good to have so many of you here with us right now. So the first announcement, guys, the most important one, if you didn't already know from the chat, we have a live event for those here in Auckland and New Zealand, because I know historically some have traveled from as far as Taupo and Tauranga and all over the show. So anywhere inside driving distance, guys, the 3rd, we have got an event. We haven't done one for a very long time, but on the 3rd, Sunday the 3rd, Dad's birthday is on the 4th. So I'm pretty sure we are going to be having some fun together on the 3rd. So make sure you can do that. We'll drop some more details in the chat very soon, but we'll be having a meal together at this rate and some training and some good quality community time. How good does that sound? All right, well, aside from that, let me just catch up with the chat here because it feels so fun. 10 a.m. and working, Mark. Okay, you're working it. Well, it looked like you were heading to the gym. Anyway, it's a total opposite. It's cold in Auckland right now. I don't know what it is. I had to use ChatGPT the other night because my weather app said 10 and feels like 3. I was like, why is it 10 and feels like 3? Apparently that's wind chill. But anyway, first world problems, indoors, feeling good, just a little bit extra cozy with a hoodie tonight. So hope you're warm and comfy wherever you are right now. But tonight is going to be a lot of fun. So between Dad and myself, we're going to dive into chart patterns. And so you should all have your system, the full system PDF with you, hopefully nearby. Hopefully you've already gone through it. But page 54, I believe, yes, 54, is all about chart patterns. So we threw that in the bonus material because we are often spotting patterns. And each of them have got all sorts of different levels of probability. You can go have some fun with Google or ChatGPT and figure out which ones have got the highest probabilities. I don't know, maybe Dad has some facts for us tonight, but I know which ones work very, very often. So we're going to dive into some of those. I know Dad's got some examples. The first one I'm just going to pull up super quick. Let me screen share this for a second and you can see what I'm talking about. So this is our document, page 54 in our system that covers chart patterns. So through this resource in there, just to show, what we often see on the charts. And so, each of these carry different probabilities, but as you have more time on the charts, more mileage, whatever you want to call it, you're going to spot these and start to recognize what happens. And obviously, the higher the time frame, the more weight they carry. And so you'll often hear me talking about, these symmetrical triangles. The price comes in and then compresses into you got lower highs, higher lows, and then price bounces out this, this first, hopefully you can see my cursor, but this first top left pattern right there. Right next to it, ascending triangle, reverse or inverse head and shoulder pattern. So you almost basically got a triple bottom, between point 1 and then 2 and 3 and 5. So 1, 3, and 5 is giving us that triple bottom as opposed to just a double top or a double bottom, which we can see down the bottom section down there. Got double bottoms, double tops. We've got the cup and handles. I know Dad spots those every now and then. The falling wedge or the rising wedge. Crazy, crazy powerful pattern, guys. So I'll show you one of those. Ethereum's had a big breakout recently in the last couple of days, and that's because it had a massive falling wedge on a higher time frame. What else we got? We've got obviously the flags and the pennants. So price will race up and then track sideways in a downward direction in some range, and then break out of that consolidated trend or channel. And then you've got the pennants, and that's when price goes up, kind of paints the flag, but a pennant, we'll call it what it is, and compresses. And I'll show you how we've had a little bit of that happening on gold, even, which we referenced from our Friday morning training. And then we'll dive into some other things. So let me unshare that. Let me share TradingView, which I have behind me here, and check in the tried printing it out, but it's difficult to read. Okay, maybe I'll figure out a white version that's not black and dark blue and everything, and then there'll be a better printable version for everyone for those who want to print it. I know that would be pretty horrible to print now that I think about it. It just followed the brand and the color scheme. So Wendy, I'll work on a light colored version for you. Anyone else who wants to print it. So let's dive into TradingView. What do we got here? So I got Ethereum for us on the charts right now, guys. Drop ETH in the chat if you are excited about having some ETH in your portfolio. I'm not sure if anyone is trading it. But right here, this is a daily time frame. So I'm going to go to a weekly. There's Ethereum from, cycle. This is where we are now. And so Ethereum actually hasn't broken or made an all-time high yet. And so there's a lot of talk in the crypto space about an altcoin season. That happens when, money filters out from Bitcoin and into the alts, because there's so much liquidity inside of Bitcoin. When that runs, people move their money into the other things. And so ETH hasn't had an all-time high yet. But what happened recently is we had all this consolidation here, this huge drop-off. And then you can see that we actually had this descending wedge, falling wedge, descending wedge, pretty much the same thing. We had the previous pattern here that price was stuck underneath, broke out, gave us a little bit of a new high above these local ones, but rejected pretty hard, and then came down, sure enough, retested that previous resistance. And then once it broke out of that, it was gone. So I'm sure the MACD was giving us some signals during that. There we go. I mean, this is a weekly chart. So let's throw on TrendForce. Let's see what it was saying. So we got a buy signal over there. And sure enough, TP3 got smashed. This is a weekly. Let's just go down to a daily, see what that looked like. I mean, look at that, guys. There was a counter trend signal down there. Wow. Smashing out. And then, anyway, buy signal up there in the clear, smashing through. That's a daily chart, guys. When you see these things on the daily, I mean, the percentage, if you're holding these in your portfolio, I mean, right now, this is up 42% from that buy signal. Think about that. That is from an investment standpoint. Put $1,000 in, you're up 410 potentially. So you can use TrendForce for those long-term investments and holds. I mean, that's on a daily. You could have come down to 4 hour and really started to see what was going on here, and obviously way more opportunities to get in. But anyway, wanted to show that pattern right there, that descending wedge or falling wedge. And maybe I'll just do one more. Let's go to gold, because we referenced that from the other day. So this is, look, my gold chart's got a lot on it. And if I hit daily, it's going to be probably a bit messy, but let's just see what it looks like. So daily will show us the first kind of the big picture pattern that I really want us to all see. Yeah, that'll do. So we've got this trend line. I referenced this trend line on Friday morning, going all the way back to December 19th, where price has respected it. And obviously we shot up and created a new all-time high. Once we broke above this 3,000 level, you can ignore these little fib numbers and boxes, but can you see, after we ran up like a big giant flagpole, we've been compressing. We've got lower highs over here underneath this red trend line, and we've got these higher lows that are still printing. And we tapped the trend line, bounced up, tapped the trend line, and on Friday morning we tapped this trend line, and I said we're going up. So what else though can we note? There's one really powerful thing to know about these patterns, is that you can measure from the base to the top, and that there can become a measured move prediction for where price can go once it breaks out. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be the destination of gold, but it's very possible. That right there puts gold at 4,300. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, I've got these fib extensions here, but those flagpoles are how you can measure the breakout when we break out. Now, remember, we're looking at a daily chart right now. That's going back to December down there. And now we've got this compression. And once we break above this trend line, I'm just going to leave that thing over there. And now I'll zoom in a little bit more. I know that this vertical white line, that's from Friday 2 weeks ago, because we had a trade in there that we took. And I'll zoom in even more. But can you see, I actually had another trend line from Friday morning. I must have deleted it. So we had one in here. It would have been from that point down to that point. And that's where I said we're down here and we broke up towards this. So 2 weeks ago, we took a trade. We were down here on our live session, and that ran up. I'll have to zoom in so you can actually see it. There was screenshots of that in the chart, in the chat. Sorry, not the chart. I'm on the right gold chart right now. There it is. It's deep down in there, right before price just continued to go up. In there somewhere. Anyway, then last Friday morning, though, on a 4-hour chart on Heikin-Ashi candles, let's just bring this in nice and tight. We were in here, and on Heikin-Ashi, we can't see it as clearly, but the pattern that Dad has really figured out for us is this candle pattern, this Heikin-Ashi reversal candle pattern. So we've got this flat top. So these on this particular chart, that's why. Sorry, I'm on my crypto tab still, I think. Anyway, these candles, pink being bearish, obviously, and blue being bullish. We've got this flat top. So Heikin-Ashis, when they're bullish, they're like very bullish candles, flat bottoms, and the wicks pointing up, no wicks on the bottom. Dojis are still going to look like a doji, and bearish flat tops are going to go down like this. And so you can see what happened when price touched this trend line, right? We've got 30th of June, bounce. how much did we bounce from that trend line? And we bounced up, 3.6% on the asset, 117 points. I mean, that's like 1,000 pips for a gold move. And then we know same thing when we touched it again here. Oh, look at that pattern. Up to that point, 91 points. So again, that's like 900 pips if we're comparing it to a NAS or Dow trade. But look at that. There is that flat top, doji, flat bottom reversal pattern. And then out of there. And on Friday morning, we were down here. You can see the bottom there, Friday, 18th of July, 6 a.m. We were inside this 4-hour candle. And as we were bringing the Zoom to a close, I said, guys, this is the bottom of this move. We're moving up to at least this trend line. And then the next stop is going to be this red one up here. And if we turn on TrendForce, we'll see that we did get a buy signal on the 18th. And price has since then moved up. And TP3 is sitting right there, up at that zone. So what happens? So there's a couple of patterns here that I want to show you. One being this Heikin-Ashi reversal pattern, which obviously we don't need the indicator to show us. But when you spot it on a higher time frame, 4-hour chart right now, there's a high probability that price is going to move. And so the first target I would have had after getting into the safety would have been this trend line that was coming down, and then the break and above. And yeah, so aside from the pattern itself of the candles, we then have this breakout, which was, you can see inside here, the compression, right? So we had this high and these highs and these lows, and that was giving us a bit of a triangle like this. And then the bigger picture though is that we're stuck inside this massive pennant, which goes back to our high on the 22nd of April. And so we've got this big run up and this compression. And so what do you think is going to happen once we finally break above this red line at that 3,415 mark? We're going to break it. We might come a little bit higher, maybe take out these tops over here at around 3,450, probably come back down for a retest. And that retest moment right there, guys, if you are trading at the time, I can tell you now, those higher time frame break and retests like this, when it's taking weeks and months, those are your primo entries. I can tell you now, I took one on Bitcoin before the election day, and price has never come back. And I will show you what it looks like when these patterns play out, because I've got it here. It should be fairly marked out. So what are we on? 4-hour. I need to go a little bit further back because that is down. Where are we? Let's check this out here. There we go, October, and you can see this pattern right here. So Bitcoin's all the way up there right now, forming all these other compression patterns, as you can see. But if we go back to this wedge, what happened? Let's just measure this and see how this pattern played out. And then I'm going to bring Dad on. He's going to have a go. So let's go from at least just the base of this move to the top of that. And now this is going from September to March. This is a long period of time. The bear market was over. We started to break out. And somewhere in there on the 10th of January, we had the ETF announcement. But let's just put that there, the break and the retest. So look at this. Once we got out of this consolidation, I'm going to change this to something brighter and more in our face. Let's do green, make it 4 so it's nice and thick. And well, look at that. We got there eventually. Obviously, we didn't get there in that first move. But from that point, at least, this is what I mainly wanted to show you, is that we have this compression, this flag pattern right here, and look at how clean this move was. Price broke out on the 30th of October, came back down and gave us, and we're on a 4-hour chart right now. So, oh, look at that pattern, guys. Look at that. What do we have? Flat top, doji, flat bottom. Oh, there's a little bit of a wick on there, to be fair. So anyway. And depending on if you're on normal Heikin-Ashi or whatnot, that was a touch and go. Like, we are within 100 points. At that point, if you've got the doji and the bullish candle, you should be in. And that was the 5th of November on my chart, but that was most likely the election day, the 6th of November in the States. And you can see what happened after that. So I'm not saying that's going to happen to gold, but I'm saying that it is very likely that when you get that, the longer the compression, the greater the spring, the longer the greater the launch. So that from the top of that move to the end, that consolidation was 236 days. So lots of compression. And then after that, we had the breakout. And, from that point up to where we are right now, we are up 76%. So that is, just a little bit of a breakdown of what Bitcoin's been doing. And to show you right now, because I am getting a lot of messages, is Bitcoin a good thing to get into? Is XRP a good thing to get into? When things run, that's normally when my phone runs. So you can see we've got a similar thing happening right here, right? We've got these higher lows forming. That one is still higher, and we've got these lower highs. And once we break above here, guys, it wouldn't be surprising to me if we ran. So that is enough of those patterns. What did I just show you? Let me just check. I can't actually see the chat. Forgive me while I've been sharing. Chat's there. Well, ETH would love some. Yep, good thing to have. Almost a cup. There we go. Sorry, handle. Yep, sorry, I'm just catching up now. Do you use these patterns on lower time frames? Yes, definitely, Wendy. So they just I'm showing you on the high time frames because they carry so much more weight. And you'll definitely, let me just unshare so I can talk us through. So I'll often see, head and shoulders, reverse head and shoulders, double tops, double bottoms on the 1 minute chart. And we will look at those, we'll see trend line breaks with them, and they carry more weight the higher the time frame. But how do I phrase this? You never go all in on a pattern on a lower time frame. We always follow the rules. That's the beauty of having TrendForce, is that's going to give you a signal. That's going to give you rules to follow. But if you have that signal and you have those rules and you also have a pattern, think of the pattern as an extra layer of confidence or confluence or a cluster, as we like to say. When you've got a bunch of things all in the same space saying yes, it's like adding to the cluster. And so I won't take a trade purely on a lower time frame on a pattern alone. Absolutely not, because too often or not, price moves to cause the most people the most amount of pain. And on those lower time frames, pain happens. Like, that's just what happens. It's just money's going to move. And if you've got a very tight stop loss, if you're only going off patterns, it's not going to work. It's possible, but it won't. And I know plenty of people in the past that have tried it with trend lines and divergence and all sorts of things. It can happen, but price can keep going and keep going and keep going against you. And a double top can turn into a triple top. And you got stopped out. So hope that answers that question. For now, I think that is enough from me. Dad, I know you are locked and loaded and ready to go. So I am going to pin you and get you on here. And I have to take a second. Cool. Brendan as well. Welcome to New Zealand. Welcome back to New Zealand. I know you're in the country and you took your first bunch of New Zealand pips this morning with TrendForce. Very, very cool to see that. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you at our live event very, very soon. And let me find Dad. Dad, there you go. Gotcha. Well,
I'm here. Cool.
Thank you for putting in the time to bring some things together for us tonight and for sharing it with us live. So I'll get out the way. Over to you. Thank you.
No worries. I'll go straight to share my screen. So here we go. And here we go. You should be able to see my screen. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see all your faces. And especially to mention all the guys from overseas. What's it? South Africa, Netherlands, Europe. It's really, really awesome. So here we go. So it's going to be slightly different tonight. I just want to move. Of course, when I share screen, then things pop up in funny places and I can't see my screen. I was going to keep it really simple tonight. Somebody did ask a good question. And Taz also answered some things really well too, is that chart patterns are not absolutely conclusive. And so they can help us in terms of should we take a trade or not. But we can't rely on them totally. Price is going to do what it's going to do. But what I find they're helpful with is helping me set up and prepare for a trade. So if I see a pattern beginning to develop, then I'm getting my finger on the mouse, getting ready to position myself for a trade. And so I keep it really, really simple. So there are a number, Tao showed all those patterns. You got your pennants, wedges, flags, descending triangles, ascending triangles. I often just call them wedges when I'm trading with Tao. I just say, look, there's a wedge forming, and he'll say, well, it's a descending this one, ascending that. So when I'm drawing wedges, I just, I'm drawing a horizontal triangle, seeing price compress. And so again, look, they are very helpful. And I use a lot of patterns, but I tend to stick to the simple ones. So I would say, I did see the cup and handle pattern the other day. It was very rare. I've only seen that once. I've noticed it only once, in a long time. So having said that, here's actually, there's almost like a cup and handle, boom. So we won't highlight that right now. But 90% of the time, or maybe more, I'm just looking at about 4 or 6 different patterns. I'm looking at M's, which are double tops, or we can also move into a triple top. And then the opposite is a W, a double bottom, or also a triple bottom. And then one of my favorite patterns that gets me into trades is the head and shoulders, or the opposite way around is a reverse head and shoulders. So most of the time I'm looking at double tops, triple tops, double top bottoms, triple bottoms, and head and shoulders. That's the majority of the time that I'm looking at. So what I'm going to do today, I'm just going to do this on the fly, So I haven't drawn different charts. We're simply going to look for patterns. And we're going to look at different time frames. And the key is, what I want to emphasize is when I use patterns, I always, 99% of the time, I draw a trend line. So for pattern forms, I only take price action if price breaks a trend line. And that's the real key. So if there's any takeaway, just remember that trend lines are very important. It's also good, you can see, is when you're trading, the indicator can hide a lot of patterns. And so what I do when I'm trading, I often just click the indicator off just to get a clear picture of what's happening. So I don't have the indicator on 99% of the time. I click it off to have a look, and then often you can see patterns a little bit clearer. And so do that, click it off, on and off. And again, I often like to look, as you know, my style, I like to look at 3 charts at the same time, mainly a 1 minute, 3 minute, 8 minute. And because often the 1 minute can be very noisy and you may miss a pattern. But when you look at, say, an 8 minute, you can quite easily see, patterns on higher time frames more clearly. And Ty's already looked at the very high patterns. We'll do that too. You can flick on the 1 hour or 4 hour, the daily. Those also help you to identify patterns. So I'm just going to scroll through the charts and just see if we can pick up, any patterns that have been occurring just in the last day. So, I mean, things often can be very, range-ish during the day. But if we just go back now here, I can see a pattern. Here's my little favorite one. Can you see this W pattern here? So if you put the indicator on, it can be a little bit disguised. But with it off, you can see a clear W pattern. So the way I approach these kind of patterns is I always draw a trend line. So we can see the W, on a work a bit of the brush. So there we got the W going like that, and that. So there is our W pattern. All right, so that should be quite clear to see. So the way I approach it, I'm just going to delete that, and I'll just keep cleaning my chart as I go. So the way I approach this W pattern is I always draw a trend line, and when price breaks a trend line, that can be a sign to enter. So I'm going to do a lot of this tonight. I'll draw a trend line, then I look for a signal. So if I drew a quick trend line, so when you're looking at the W pattern or a double bottom, it's the same for the M. You always make sure that the trend line kisses the top part of the W. If it was an M pattern, look, there's an M pattern. We can look at that. You want the trend line to touch the base of the M with the W, the top of the W. So we've got our W pattern. There's a trend line. Price breaks, but then I'm always looking for a signal. So we've got the indicator off. Let's turn the indicator on. We're going to do this quite a few times tonight just to get the hang of it. Boom, look at that. Now, this is a bit of a counter trend, but you can see, and this will happen a lot. It's amazing how it works, that this is buy momentum. I'm not saying take this trade. We can put on the MACD too to see what is happening there. On that candle, we've got a full color with a counter trend signal. But sometimes you can, if you understand price action, enter a trade early. So here we broke this trend line. We had the W pattern. There we got our trend line. There we get a signal. And there was a move up because we broke a trend line. There was 14 pips. Obviously, we're in range. I've got my chart, spread out quite a bit. If I shrunk it, I don't know where my big round numbers have gone. They've disappeared. I did load them early. Let me just put them on quickly, just for scale. I thought I had them on. Big round numbers. There we go. They are on. Okay. So we're really in range, but still, we can just look at the principle. So again, let's just look at this other M on the right-hand side here. We can see here, we've got this M pattern. So price went up. What's happened to my drawing? There's our M. Boom. And then price went down again. So that's a double top or an M pattern. So again, every time we have these patterns, we want to always draw a trend line. Let me just delete that M, get rid of my drawings as I go. Boom. All right, so we want to draw a trend line, and again, this is now an M or double top. Our trend line must go through the bottom to validate an entry and a break of a trend line. So that's just my style. Haven't heard anyone else really say that, but it's just what I've learned from my experience. So there we got our trend line. And so that means price is reversing. So what validates the double top or the M pattern is that price then does, break down and move down. So again, we always look for a signal. Now again, we're not sticking to all the rules. So here we go, there we go. There's a counter trend signal. That would be a potential entry point. So we've got counter trend, plus we've got histogram bright green, separation on the MACD, triangle down. So again, look, this is pretty rangy here, so not a massive trade that time of the day, but we always look for a signal. I never take a trade without a signal, and especially I'm going to repeat myself like a parrot. When I'm looking for patterns, I'm always looking for trend lines and signals. So we'll change the time frame in a minute. Let's just go back to see what else we can see. Okay, this looks like we got a pattern here. Now, it's not the best example, but here would be a reverse head and shoulders. So you're looking for two shoulders. Ideally, that shoulder should have been down here, but it's a bit of a slim pickings just looking over a day or so. So if we look at this pattern, that would be one shoulder. This is the head, and here's the other shoulder. Not the ideal. As I said, we would have liked it much further down. So then we want to draw a trend line. I mean, this is a terrible one to do, but let's just look at it anyway. We want to make sure we want to go through the right-hand side. I don't know what you call that, just the right-hand shoulder. We want to make sure we break that trend line before we enter a trade. So we're just going quickly tonight looking at some examples. So that would be a potential trend line over there. And then if you enter this trade, I mean, obviously we're very rangy. Let's just see if there was any signal at that point. Yep, so that would be a valid entry over there. We can see our signal. We've broken a trend line. We've got a pattern, histogram, bright green. So that could be potentially a move to the upside. So let's look at a few more. Let's maybe just change the time frame. I'll just keep clearing my chart as we go. I don't like a mess. I'm a minimalist. Are there any other minimalists on the charts tonight? All right, so let's just change it up to a 5 minute and just see, because when we compress price to the 5 minute, we may see some more patterns. So let's just go where we're moving along. I mean, there was a big move down here, but you couldn't really say this was it was, well, in fact, let's just say that you sometimes get messy patterns, but nevertheless, they still create a pattern. Ideally, like a double top, you want 1 wick there, 1 wick there, 1 wick there. But sometimes, price kind of messes around a bit. And so if you looked at this double top from this morning, there's kind of an M there. We can see it's not the most beautiful, but that would still, to me, be a double top. Price tested that area multiple times. Let's just delete this now. It tested it multiple times, and then price dropped. Oops. Let me just use this. I'm still getting used to it. I don't use the brush a lot. So when I'm talking, I often mess it up. But again, you want to find some kind of trend line break then. So in this case, a bit of a funny trend line, but potentially that could have been a break of a trend line. It's a bit pointing down. Then you always look again for a signal. Is there a signal? Yep, look at that. I mean, I didn't organize this before. A counter trend signal on that break of a trend line. And that was the good. I mean, price then dropped 222 pips. So that was also, I wanted to highlight that's like a messy double top, but nevertheless, still a double top. So then again, we'll just look at maybe some high time frames. So we'll just block off the indicator. Let's go to the 4 hour, because this is good for preparation. Like when I got on the charts this morning, the first thing I did, Sunday's a busy day for me. I didn't, or Monday, I didn't get a chance to update the charts. So first thing on Tuesday morning, I just quickly went to the 4 hour, checked key levels and things. But it's always good. So now we're on a 4 hour chart. Can we see a pattern? So let's look for a pattern that could have determined price action. I mean, there's like a bit of a head and shoulders there, we could say. Not the best. If there's something better, we're just going very quickly. There's a bit of head and shoulders, but not a big move. I mean, things were a little bit rangy in the last while. So let's just look on the daily, see if we can see anything on the daily. Let's scale it up. I know on some of the other indices we can look. I mean, the key pattern I look for, Tom mentioned it, is that Heikin-Ashi pattern of bearish doji bullish, or the other way around. So here we can see this is a great example. So in terms of patterns, people don't call it a pattern, but I do. I'm constantly looking for this pattern over here. So you can see what we got. Oops, you can see what we got here. There we got a bearish candle doji bullish, whenever that happens, there's often a price to the upside. So if you go back and just study that, you will see here's a bit of a W pattern. Let's just look at this one. So now we're on a daily chart. Let's just remove that. So when we look at the daily chart, we can see this this W pattern, not the cleanest, but we're just going very quickly trying to find out these patterns like this. So there is a W pattern. So this side is higher than that side. We won't go through all the technicalities of that. But again, we want to look for a trend line. So whenever there's a trend line break, that validates a pattern. So on the daily, again, we've got this W pattern. The obvious trend line would be to go there. Now remember, you want to go through, try to get to the high point of the W. And then what we can do is look at, is there a valid signal also to validate entry? Well, this one's not perfect. That's quite a long way away, but still, even after breaking that pattern there, price moved up 2,300 pips. Remember, that is a daily pattern. So always draw trend lines, and the break of the trend line validates the signal, and then that can determine whether we take the trade, depending on whether we get another signal. So again, keep looking for patterns. That Heikin-Ashi pattern, let's just look back. Let's see if we can find another one somewhere. There's one, look there, there's a bullish, doji, bearish. And that led to, I mean, those don't look like big trades, but if this is a daily, that's 1,200 pips. So when here's a W, here's a bit of a W pattern too. So we can see our W pattern. If we just drew that over here, then we'll just maybe look at the NAS. So we can see there's our W pattern, and price moved up. So let's just look at this one. I'll just delete that. Let me just get that deleted. And let's just see if we can draw it. So again, what will validate this W pattern is the break of a trend line. So we take it from the top, the high point of that W, and then we can see we broke, and the nice bullish candle. If we put on the indicator what was happening then, now this is the ideal example. Wow, I didn't plan this, but this is worth looking at. W pattern, break of a trend line, and you get a buy signal, that's always going to move. So the best signal to get when you're studying patterns and you're breaking a trend line is when you get a buy or sell signal. I mean, buy momentum can be sufficient, counter trend more risky, and there's 1,400 pips. So those are the things we look for. So there may be swing traders, what's great about this indicator is that it works on every time frame. I mean, if you closed your eyes, you couldn't tell this was a daily chart. This could look like a 1 minute, but yeah, you can see I'm on the daily. It works perfectly on every single time frame. So let's maybe look at a few more, how we're doing well for time.
I just have to say, those white candles, those white angels showing off there too on that deck.
See, I know if you took this trade, swing trade, you're up 765 pips. There you got your white. Then you could chase it up. I remember every day you move it up one. You're up 959. The next day you're up 1,100. The next day you're up 1,267. And then there you move, if you've following the white candles, you would have got stopped out for 1,300 pips.
I just wish I had those a couple of years ago, because my biggest swing on the Dow was 1,998 pips.
Yeah.
And I didn't have those white candles, but I had no real reason to exit besides it being the previous high. But anyway, please keep going. This is so good.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the white candles really work really well. So let's just look at the NAS. We'll just quickly fly through a few of the things we commonly trade. So let's just pop on the NAS to see. I'm kind of ad-libbing. That's what I thought I'd do. So we'll just quickly look at the NASDAQ and start on the 1 minute, then maybe look at some high time frames. Let's see what we can see here. Wow, look at this. Bit of a drop there now. Let me just close that off there. So let's look. This is the NASDAQ. I'm on the 1 minute. Let's just see if we can see any patterns. I mean, that's an ugly W. My OCD doesn't allow me to even look at that for much longer. Let's just go back to when there was some volume. NAS is, with being at all-time highs, there may not be a lot to look at. So I'm going very quickly. Nothing sticking out there. I mean, that would be a horrible... I mean, let's just use this as an illustration. In some ways, now this is not a great example, but we got slim pickings just quickly looking. There is, this would be a head and shoulders. But I just want to make a point here. And then if we did take that trade, we want to, go from the high, break the right shoulder. And look, obviously this is not ideal, but then that would be the entry point. I don't know what the indicator was saying then. Oh, we got, look there, as we broke the trend line, we got a little buy momentum. So you always look for a signal to validate the trend line, which validates the chart pattern. But what I want to look at here is, this is hard to pick up. So let's just turn if you looked, you may not, if you're not used to patterns, you may not have noticed the head and shoulders. But if we change this to a 3-minute chart, you will see it's much easier to pick the head and shoulders here. Can you see? There's a shoulder, there's a shoulder, there's a shoulder. The tighter it is, let's just take it up to a 5 if that helps. Okay, now we've lost it. Come back, we love you. Here we go. So we can see there was a little, you can see there on the 5-minute, it may be a little bit more visible. There's a shoulder, there's the head, reverse head, break of trend line. And so again, on higher time frames, you can often see these things way more clearly. Let's just see if we can find any others. Let me just clean up my chart without deleting the MACD. We'll just hide that for now. So we're looking at a 5-minute chart. Let's see if anything else sticks up. Oh, here's a nice one here. So hopefully I thought I'd just repeat myself a bit so you can kind of get the rhythm of how I look for patterns. So here we go. We've got a nice little W pattern there. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, again, not a huge move. We can see the W. So now that we've identified that, I'll just quickly clean it up. And then again, we go through the same pattern. That's our W. We draw in a trend line. And we want to go through the high point of the W, a bit more difficult on this one, trying to get that high point. And then that's not the most beautiful W. Then you basically look for, put on the indicator, and is there a signal to validate an entry? Okay, I mean, obviously this was a bit counter trend, but that would mean a good one. Because yes, we got a buy momentum there, but of course we're straight into trouble. So that wouldn't have been the best. So that's still on the 5-minute. Let's just go to a high time frame, and maybe we'll just end with looking at gold. So let's just delete that trend line. I'll just find it easier just doing it over there. So let's go higher time frame before we just maybe end with gold. Let's look at the 4-hour to see what the NAS reset chart view. Let's see if we can see any patterns. Okay, here we go. So this is on a 4-hour. We've not the most beautiful, but here we've got a W pattern. Not perfect, but again, definitely a W. We can see there. We'd want to then, we draw our trend line from some high to make sure it goes through. You always want to go through the high point of the W. That's where you draw your trend line. Then what validates the pattern is the trend line, and what validates your entry. Let's see what, oh, this is great. Look at this. This is the great one. So the signal came slightly earlier, but it wouldn't have been a late entry. People often ask the question, how late is too late? There's our buy signal. We've broken the trend line. The candle's gone to dark green. That's a valid signal. But at the same time, look there, 4-hour chart, our histogram has gone bright green. So we can see on 4-hour chart, patterns always get bigger pips, 718 pips there. So that would have been a great trade. Let's just see if there's one. Well, let's just ramp it up to the daily. Let's just see anything else sticks out quickly. We can go to the daily next. Okay, this is a bit ugly. Look, here is, they're not all pretty, you know. There's a shoulder. There's a head. There's a shoulder. Maybe harder to get a trend line drawn here. Okay, maybe go from that high. And you always got to go through the right-hand shoulder somewhere. So that would be your trend line. The break of the trend line validates the pattern, and then a signal would validate breaking the trend line. So not a clear signal there. A bullish candle, bright green, a bit weak. So that one's not the ideal example. We'll just look maybe at the daily, then take one look at gold. before you wrap it up. I hope I'm not boring you and that you're learning something here, but I find these are very helpful. Okay, so let's just do daily, then we'll look at gold, and then we'll call it a night. So the daily pattern, let's see what sticks out here. Okay, these are the ones where you get the pullbacks, you get these flags. So there's a little flag here. So excuse my art, it's not going to look pretty. So when prices moved up, you want to kind of, I mean, this is terrible, but it's just trying to get an example. So how these flags work, they normally run parallel. So that's kind of a quick look at a flag. The key thing, when you have a flag, so if price was moving up, let's just see what signals we were getting there. It's a good example. This is now on the daily, there's a buy signal, big pullback. This is a good example. If you're swing trading, generally, where's my vertical line? That when you get these patterns like this, so, oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Let me delete that. I think I must do a vertical trend line. So when you get these flag patterns, I think Ty kind of pointed this out. So the distance from the bottom of the trade to that first pullback, if you take that to this candle here, I think it is, you almost, I'm hashing it a bit, you almost end up with the same amount of volume. And so those are good things to look out for, is when you break, and this is a good example, this flag pattern here, because if you put on the indicator, you can see what validated, we broke the flag, which is almost like a trend line there. What validated that entry, you can see we had a full color candle. We also had triangle up on the MACD, and you could have waited a candle over there for buy momentum, and even before the pullback, there's almost 1,000 pips in that move. So let's take one more look at gold. Let me clean my chart here and get this off. And I want to look at something. Let's just see what sticks out with gold. We'll go back to the 1 minute. Indicator off, reset our chart view. And let's look at gold before I hand back to Ty. All right, so this is the 1 minute on gold. Just having a look here. Oh, what I like, what I'm seeing. Look at this. Let's just look at this. Wow, 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 wow. Look at all these things. Let's just get my brush on. Can you see that pattern there? It is bearish, doji, bullish. Here is bearish, doji, bullish. There is bearish, doji, bullish. Look at those. That's what I like about Heikin-Ashi. Classic reversal patterns. I don't know if they what signal. Oh, what happened there? Come back. Reset chart view. That sometimes happens. Let's get. I just want to see what's happening on any of those signals. So you can see. Look here. So there is. This was one we highlighted. There was buy momentum there, counter trend there, and a buy momentum there. So look out for these patterns. I mean, they are excellent for entering trades or preparing you. It doesn't mean you have to enter on that first candle. Look for a signal. I know Ty's already covered gold. Let's just quickly see if we can pick up any other patterns. Any other patterns that stick out? I'm looking. I mean, that's not a nice M over there. Oh, that's a horrible head and shoulders. I'd like to see that shoulder down there. Maybe we can ramp it up to a higher time frame. Okay, here's we got a nice, here we got a bit of a flag. I mean, sometimes it doesn't look as neat. And ideally, you want, that's more of a break of a trend line more than a flag. So not quite what I was looking for. We can kind of draw an ugly one, not quite. So let's just maybe take it up to a higher time frame, see if we can see anything. Just look on the 5 minutes. Before I hand back to Ty, I'll just delete those lines. I hate anything I don't need. So let's just have a look here. As we end, see if we can see any patterns on the 5 minutes. So let's have a look, just going back. Not head and shoulders there. We'll just go back, spend the last minute looking. Okay, here is an ugly W. Not the best, but still. This would qualify. I mean, so there we got like a W pattern there. Right, so there's sometimes they are kind of spread out. Like in the 1 minute, you wouldn't have picked that up. So high time frames, definitely a W pattern. So let's just want to delete that. And then we apply the same principle. We've got the, or let's leave it on. Not going to harm anyone. So we got a W pattern. Then next we draw a trend line.
Look at that.
Okay, and it's got a, what's that?
Break and retest, that little doji right there.
Yeah. And then we look to see, was there a signal? Oh my gosh, that's great. I mean, this is completely unplanned. There we've got a buy signal on a W pattern, and you've broken the trend line, validates the signal, and we can see that trade. I mean, there was a good trade there. I mean, if you'd stayed in the whole way, and there was almost 100 pips up to there, if you're brave enough to stay the whole way, there's 200 pips on that move. What initiated that move was that W pattern. So I think I've talked enough. I've just basically gone through the more simple ones that I use, that I find helpful. And again, I use the same. I look for the pattern. I always draw a trend line. A break of a trend line validates the pattern. And then again, a signal validates the trend line, which validates the whole process. So hopefully that's been helpful, Ty. I will hand back to you and maybe stop share.
Oh, so good. I can see loads dropping. Yeah, great stuff. Thanks, Mark. Mark's thanking you. I'm sure everyone else will in a moment when they come down to land. Absolute gold. Showing it off on gold, like the indicator giving a signal right there and there. And it was a question, I think I might have typed an answer to. Do you always, yeah, it was Mark. Do you always look for the break of a trend line in combination with a signal? So the signal sometimes, and I gave a text answer, but just so it's on here as well. I will primarily be seeing some, depending on what I've seen beforehand, I might mark up something like a W or an M or whatever and a trend line and be very aware that we're approaching a break and maybe a retest, and then a signal will show up pretty much at the right time. Sometimes I don't even see the patterns. Sometimes I don't see the trend lines, and I'll have a trade and I just take a signal because the signal's there and it met the rules. And I'll look back later and go, oh my word, I missed that trend line. That was actually perfect. There was confluence. So it always goes like that. It's signals, then the complements of the trend line, but you might draw those trend lines and see those patterns while the indicator's off during your warm up. Remember the whole daily setup session that we did? I will quickly share that just as a reminder. We did a whole video on it, but this is the process, guys. You want to start with obviously checking for news, forexfactory.com. You then want to start on your higher time frames, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, maybe draw some fibs on there, just see if we've had any big retracements down to like a 50% level, looking for those key levels. Then you turn on the sessions indicator, and this is good on a 15-minute chart. I'm going to show you right now as well an example of this. Then it's game time. Then you're going to read your rules again, just to make sure that, or have them right in front of you. And then you're going to look for some trades, and then especially with gold, you're going to be referencing the DXY, which is the dollar, or the Dixie. It's basically the US dollar versus everything, which does have some influence definitely on gold and other things as well. And then post-game, you want to be reviewing your trades. You just have, like, the best way to improve is to actually pay a lot of attention to your worst trades. That is the best way to improve. So I'm going to screen share super quick, Dad. If you, let me unpin you and let me do this. I'll show you one thing I was also just seeing right there as you were talking about gold, because we're entering the trading week right now. So here's gold right now. Looking at it, you can see we've had this burst up, a little bit of consolidation up top and a drop down. So before we go further back, let's just have a look over here. So firstly, let's do this. I'm going to turn on the sessions indicator, and I'm on the 1 minute, but I've got thankfully a screen that can show all this resolution. So if I turn on sessions, what are we going to see? These previous lines are from previous highs that we came up and smacked through this morning, 2 in the morning. Like last night, London pushed us up. And then we've got New York. So we broke this previous New York level that I have on here and this previous London level. But then check this out, guys. What you would have done during your pregame is you would have gotten your horizontal ray and gone, well, there's the low of that New York session. We didn't go any lower than that. And then if you're OCD like me or CDO like Dad, you're going to color it the same color as, you know, the New York box, and just have that on your chart. And then you might do the same thing. And I'm just showing, you know, for some of you, maybe you've just joined us. This is how we approach things. There's the top. And then what happened later on? Like, let's just look at this before we even turn on indicators. What do you guys see? New York comes to a close over here. The Sydney session begins. What happens? Price comes up, wicks into this previous high because the money's here, guys. Remember that this is the high that was established while London was still in the game, London and New York. Then price went down, came back up, closed off the day, but then Sydney came along and pushed up. because there were a whole lot of shorts and their stop losses were here. Remember, if big traders and honestly even just retail, people like you and me are trading, someone might have taken a short position in here because they saw a break or something and their stop losses are up here. I mean, this is a bit of a horrible example right now, but what if their stops were just above, just above that previous session high, and they were targeting the low and they were just hoping for something like, whatever, like that. So what does New York, Sydney do? Sydney comes and pushes the price up, sends a wick, a nice big fat manipulation spike, just one candle. During that one candle, I mean, there was a few that just flirted with the line, but then ping, I mean, it just bounces up. This magnet tool is just wrecking me a little bit, but just, spike up 1.10 pips, guys, and then down aggressively because it just spiked out all the volume. It got the liquidity it needed. They were sitting above the high of London and the high of New York. And so then what happened? Well, then the next thing, we still got that low. Sydney, Asia, came down. London opened this evening. Do you see anything here? What is that? The levels of all the buys that came in from this session here, there was some stops beneath the low. Bang, take out the shorts and then onto the upside. So, I mean, you'll see this over and over and over again. So I'm going to turn off the sessions indicator just to give you, this is how we get our context when we're approaching, just because we're not on 9 o'clock yet. Now, straight away, I just see a descending something or other here. So I'm going to take my ray more often than not, magnet tools off, but I'm going to look for something like that. Okay, that's what we are bouncing underneath. It would have been down here at one point, but obviously we're looking for the way we go is you go off the high. So I'm drawing the second point here because this is now our new low. So before we had a new low, it would have been on this high, but now, there we broke lower than there. So now we can move to that one. And then sure enough, we broke to there. But you won't do that. You're not going to cut through previous highs, but you are going to be able to move it maybe slightly higher, etc. But after this, we haven't got a new low. So we've come up. So we broke that trend line, which goes back to the earlier today, 11:30 this morning. And we're looking at gold. And so now let's just zoom in here and actually see what TrendForce had to say about it. Let's turn it on. And what do we have? So in a big bullish move, everything is green on our trend table, remember? So everything that's coming down right now is going against the higher time frames of this bullish move. We have this trend line, which I need to make thicker so we can all see it. And what happens? What happens at the break? I mean, you got an early counter trend signal, a sell signal that would not have met the rules, I'm sure, and then a counter trend signal that busts through that trend line and the 233 with buy momentum, and the stop loss hasn't been hit yet. And when was that? When was this? Let's just get some longs on here. So if you took that one, and look, I'm not even looking at the high time frame, but TP3 was there, stop loss was there. Oh, sorry, TP, it's only on one, you have one TP when you've got counter trends, but there was a 1 to 1.5 right there, and price is still just hanging above that level. So little context, right? It's we got a signal, which is awesome, but that was how gold shaped out today. This is the first time I've looked at this chart. I've been a bit busy today, but starting with that sessions indicator, looking at previous lows, previous highs, drawing a trend line, and then sure enough, the indicator delivers. And you can see there's also compression here. Like this is actually a little bit of a wedge going on when you've got this happening. So there you go, descending wedge, breaking above, a little bit of a break and retest almost as well. But just thought I would highlight that. One more thing, guys. I know that everyone on here is well advanced and has seen all this already, but some of you haven't. So don't take for granted the free course that we have. 64-page PDF, etc., 4 videos, and I've looked at the views on these videos, and I know that video 4 is the least watched, and you're selling yourselves short. So video 4 is all about trends. But obviously, we have a trend bias. We're talking down here we go. So you got the primary versus secondary. So what's a secondary phase? Well, that's a flag. So you're going to have price expanding, consolidating like a flag, and then continuing on that primary phase. So obviously same thing going down, you've got the downward phase and the primary, then a secondary flag. So go and watch these again. There's a it's Elliott wave, but really it's a 3 and 3-5B. There's your triple top, head and shoulders. You're gonna have a trend line going under 2 across 2 and A, and that break there with that C. So it's all in there, guys. Go and take a look. Fibonacci, get into some more detail with fibs. There's divergence. We didn't even touch divergence tonight, but when you start getting the double tops and double bottoms and you start seeing divergence with it, it is a banger. So there you go, guys. Go rewatch video 4 and the trend lines. That's 9 o'clock, I'm sure, almost. But that'll probably do. Hope you guys got a bunch from that. Let me just catch up on the chat. Mark says, great stuff, Dad. Excellent on that, Tim. Les, good to see you, man. Ozzy, I'm so glad you're going to be here soon. Lee's over in South Africa, good. 55 is green. Thank you, Mark. Got to go. Enjoy your day. Jono, Warner, how do you get that PDF, Ty? So that is, I'll just dump it in the chat for us. That is available for anyone who actually, so that you can tell your friends that if someone goes to our new site, trendforce.co, they can put in the name and email address. They will automatically be emailed that PDF and a playlist with those 4 videos if they want to binge them. Otherwise, they're going to get sent an email. They're actually going to get sent 1 email every couple days for a couple weeks, and it's actually going to go through. A lot of you who are on the inside already won't be getting this, but we have built this all into the site. So as soon as someone signs up for that free stuff, they're actually going to get an email with those videos and then a story from myself and a little bit of Dad as well each time, just kind of a story that is linked to the rules or the video of that day. So I'll dump it in the chat. It is where everybody needs to start, but it is free for anyone that wants to learn about this stuff. So if you've got some friends that are wondering, massive shout out to all of you that have been putting the word out there. We want to grow this, guys. We want to help people figure out how to nail trading properly, because I spent tens of thousands on different educators and traveling to meet them live and learn, but nothing ever has come close to what Dad has developed for us. So if you've got some friends that are wondering, they can score the free course, they can watch the content, they can get themselves as far in and as deep as they want before they have to spend $1, and they can learn all that high level stuff on that video 4 that I encourage you guys to go and watch. And they can watch a bunch of this too. They can watch all the TrendForce content and decide if they want to have a crack or not. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you so much, all of you that have joined us live and are watching this later. Don't forget our live event happening. Where are we? On the 3rd. Please, again, RSVP to me ASAP if you do want to be a part of that, so we can just gauge some numbers. We'll make an official document at some point and get everyone able to pay for that so we can sort out dinner. It was basically break even last time. The main goal for us, guys, is to bring the community together, see each other's faces, shake some hands, have some hugs, celebrate Dad's birthday, and have a training. And Dad has got, he's got an update for us that is a very simple update, but it is also a game changer that you're only going to see at that live event. I will record it. I'll put it online later, but not immediately. It takes a couple days to edit the live footage from an event. Otherwise, enough waffling from me. Thanks again, Dad, for bringing us so much value tonight and for coding an absolute masterpiece straight out of heaven. The rest of you, love you loads. Hopefully see you at our live event on the 3rd. And if you're international, our hearts are with you wherever you are in the world. And we'll catch you on the inside, guys. Trade safe, and we'll see you soon. Good night.